If you're a Ford owner, you know that feeling. A random error code flashes on your dashboard and your whole day just takes a nosedive. Well, today, we're going to tackle one of the more confusing ones, B10F1 14. Let's figure out exactly what your car is trying to tell you. So picture this. You're driving along, minding your own business, and boom, that little warning light kicks on. It's flashing B10F114. It's cryptic, it's definitely worrying, and your first thought is probably, what in the world does that mean, and how much is this going to cost me? Don't worry, we're going to break it all down. All right, so straight from the main diagnostic data, this code points right to a problem with the key-in-switch circuit. In simple terms, it means the system that tells your car, hey, the key's in the ignition. Well, it's not working right. The problem is probably a circuit that's either shorted out or has a break in it, so the connection's lost.
But I know what you're thinking. A circuit failure is still pretty vague, isn't it? The good news is, this error code usually narrows it down to one of four main culprits. So let's dig in and see what's really causing the headache. As you can see here, the potential causes are pretty straightforward, which is nice. You could be looking at some faulty wiring that's just gotten old and worn out. The key switch itself might have just given up, or, there could be a short circuit somewhere. It could even be something as simple as an incorrect installation from a previous repair. The fix for each is, well, pretty direct.
So now for the big question, right? What's the damage to the wallet? Because figuring out the problem is one thing, but you got to brace for the potential costs, and they can definitely vary. Okay, so for the most common fix, which is just replacing the entire ignition switch assembly, you're probably looking at a starting price somewhere between $200 and $400. And that's for both the part and the labor. Think of that as your baseline. But hold on, that's not always the whole story. On top of that base cost, you'll probably need to tack on another $100 or so for reprogramming and recoding your key to work with the new part. And here's a kicker. If your key's actually stuck in the ignition when this whole thing goes down, you can bet those labor charges are going to climb even higher. Yeah, it can add up fast. All right, so it's a key switch issue. Case closed, right? Well, this is where things get weird. Our source material throws us a huge curveball. There is a major contradiction buried in the data that you absolutely have to know about. Just when you think you've got it figured out, a totally different part of the source material, the frequently asked questions section, gives a completely different meaning for the exact same code. So, what's the other theory? And I am reading this to you word for word from the source's own FAQ. The code B10F114 translates to an issue with the, get this, right rear low tire pressure sensor. It says the code gets triggered if you go over 25 miles per hour for a couple of minutes, and that sensor doesn't send any data. We're talking about a completely different part of the car. And this just lays it out perfectly. On one hand, the main source says it's your ignition key switch, for sure. But then the FAQ section says, nope, it's a tire pressure sensor. It's a perfect example of how confusing diagnostic data can be, even when it's coming from the same place. Now, before you start rushing off to your mechanic, wondering if it's your ignition or your tires, the source does give one possible solution you can try yourself, and it's all about the key system. Tucked away in that same confusing FAQ section is a really simple procedure to try and recalibrate or reset your Ford's ignition key system. Now, if the problem is related to the key switch, this could maybe fix a small glitch, and it won't cost you a penny. It is absolutely worth a shot. The process is super simple, just 4 steps. First, take your key and stick it in the driver's side door lock. Step 2, turn it just a little bit, not enough to actually unlock the door, and just hold it there for about a minute. Third, you're going to do the exact same thing but in the opposite direction. Hold it again. Finally, pull the key out, hop in the car, and try to start the engine. That simple little sequence might be all it takes to reset the system. So, after all of that, a clear diagnosis, a wild contradiction, and a potential DIY fix, what's the bottom line here? What should you actually do when you see that B10F114 code pop up? Okay, here's what you really need to remember. First, the main diagnosis for this code is an issue with your key and ignition switch circuit. The cause is probably bad wiring, a faulty switch, a short, or a botched install. The repair will likely set you back anywhere from $200 to over $500. But, and this is the big but, always remember that there is conflicting information out there that says it could be a tire pressure sensor. This leaves us with a really fascinating question. That error code is a message, right? It's your car's computer trying to tell you something. But as we've just seen, the translation isn't always so clear. It's a great reminder that while data is amazing, getting a proper diagnosis is everything. So when your car tries to talk to you, how can you be sure you're really getting the right message?